hello, and welcome to the Your Favorite Bad Movie Podcast Holiday Special. The only holiday special brave enough to ask the question, if this movie's so bad, why does it make you so jolly? We're your ho-ho hosts. My name is Chris Anderson, and with me, as always, I have the Clark to my Chris, Greg Bossy. How are you, Greg?
Hello, I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm gonna cut these jingle bells.
That's a lot of
And
bells.
yeah, I'm sorry about that. I lost track of jingle bells. And I also have with me, of course, the Chris to my Samantha, my wife Anna Anderson. How are you, my love?
Hello. I'm all right.
All right, we'll take all right. And we have a very special guest this week. If you're a baby, you might know her as a mother. If you're a husband, you might know her as a wife. If you're a co-worker, you might know her as an HR specialist.
Mm-hmm.
But I know her as the Spice Weasel. It's Courtney Collins. How are you, Weezy?
Hi, I am very happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. And you chose this week's movie for our... I came to you with a request. Maybe a Christmas movie would be nice. We can have something in December for the holidays. And you came back with Just Friends.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What drove you to pick Just Friends?
So this is a movie that I like to call a movie of convenience.
Okay.
Insofar as when I was in my early 20s and still living at home, and my parents had HBO and all those other movie channels, it was like always on. No matter the time of year, whatever. And so, when you're 22 years old or 23 years old and you don't have anything else to do and this movie's on, you're like, all right, I'll check it out and see what it's all about. And I barely remember anything about it other than thinking that Chris Klein was very funny, Anna Farris was very funny, and the rest of it was just kind of like predictable rom-com crapola.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds is like a huge star now, and I can't believe this movie that he was in, and a lot of movies like it at the time. And so I just kind of was like, I really haven't seen this movie in almost 20 years, and I wanted to revisit it because I thought there's gotta be something worthwhile that I watched it on HBO all those times. So
I had a very similar experience the last summer I lived with my mom watching the movie Volcano 20 times over the course of a summer.
It's just like, it's on, it's there. Why not? Yeah,
this is good enough to get me through the next 85 minutes since I missed the first 15.
Right.
Let's go. So have either of you guys, Anna, Greg, have either of you seen Just Friends before?
I have not. No. It was not on my radar at the time either. That was a period where I was watching art films.
Oh, okay.
So.
I understand.
Yeah.
Pornography.
No.
I'd never seen the movie, never really even heard of it, had such little experience with it that I saw the cover and I was like, oh, it's a Ryan Reynolds, Reese Witherspoon movie. Reese Witherspoon is not in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, she could have been, though.
She could have been.
No, I mean, and that might, no offense to Amy Smart. I've got no beef with Amy Smart. We'll talk about Amy Smart later.
No, right.
I had seen this back at the time. I remember having sort of liking Ryan Reynolds in this era. I remember throwing on Van Wilder at the video store and be like, yeah, this is funny. This guy, he's doing sort of like a Chevy Chase light for the aughts sort of vibe. It's like, yeah, I get it. I get the kind of comedy that he's trying to do. And it's funny enough. And then, but then he never did like a movie that was actually good. He always seemed like he was better than the movie he was in.
Yeah.
In this one, I'd say he's just about as good as the movie. I think a couple of people in here outshine him. I think he's not a great fit for this movie. But that's my background with Just Friends, personally. with that, do you guys want to hear about the background of Just Friends itself in our context section?
Should we get the synopsis?
Yes, we should, Greg. That's a very good point.
Okay.
God, you're a hero every week.
I try to be.
This guy keeps me on my toes. So, I put this here to help me remember. Former high school Dorcas turned A&R agent to the stars finds himself back in his hometown over the holidays. Will he finally be able to seduce his high school crush, Jamie Palomino? Or will the sexpot pop star that's obsessing with him sabotage the whole thing? Fair enough?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay, so with that, let's get into some content. So Just Friends came out in 2005. Is directed by one Roger Cumble. The tagline, he loves her, she loves him not.
Okay.
Yeah, witty. It works.
Yeah.
There were several other alternate taglines that were much worse that I did not write.
Wow.
Roger Cumble is a director and playwright. He graduated from Northwestern University in 1988 and then moved out to Los Angeles. He made his bones writing and directing comedic plays about the movie industry, his so-called Hollywood trilogy, Pay or Play, D-Girl, and Turnaround. D-Girl starred David Schwimmer, who was at that point on season 3 of Friends. So that opened up a lot of doors for Roger Cumble.
No kidding.
Roger parlayed this success into his first directing gig, writing and directing the sexy teenage drama Cruel Intentions. Any
That's
Cruel Intentions
impressive.
heads?
I am a huge Cruel Intentions fan.
I'm a fan.
Same.
Such a good movie.
I watch that about yearly, I would say.
Yeah, and I would say
unreal.
much better, and you would never guess if you watched these movies.
No.
Because I looked him up. I was like, what did this writer do and what did this director do? And I was like, oh, I've seen like several things this director has done and actually enjoyed those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He followed it up with the instantly forgotten Cruel Intentions 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the even more forgotten Cameron Diaz romantic comedy The Sweetest Thing in 2002.
My friends in college actually were like obsessed with that movie.
Really?
Yeah. They were like super into it. And I kind of hated it because one of the characters was named Courtney, and you don't hear that name a lot in movies, and she was kind of a wreck. And I didn't appreciate it.
What did they like about it? Do you recall?
Well, I mean, fair is fair. Like, they liked that the girls were a mess, and it was kind of like a gross out comedy for women, which in 2002 wasn't really a thing yet.
Okay.
It was pretty rare. So like, it was kind of like, you know, girls doing stuff like dudes would do in a movie like that in 2002. So
okay,
I'll give them.
I could see that. Yeah. I could see that in the Roger Cumble DNA too. Yeah. This is a little bit pushing some boundaries in terms of taste.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a few years after that, he was tapped to direct Just Friends, which had already been written by a screenwriter named Adam Tex Davis.
Nice.
Tex Davis graduated from NYU's Tisch School of the Arts. Go Violets!
Woo!
Hey! Davis's other credits include Aloha Santa and Spring Break Lawyer. So I got to say, this guy rocks.
Yeah! Wow! A violent after your own heart.
Yes.
Spring Break Lawyer.
This guy is out there living my dreams. Salute to you, Tex Davis. He wrote Just Friends inspired by his own friend zone experiences.
Really?
Ooh.
When he
Yikes.
brought the script to producer Chris Bender, Bender assumed that the main character, Chris Brander, was based on him and his experience of being friend zoned. Tex Davis
Interesting.
told him that it was based on his own experiences and that maybe this was tapping into a universal experience if they both were saying, hey, I think this is literally based on my own life.
My
Wow,
God.
we-
I don't
What
know.
great
I feel like
confidence.
that. I would hope that says more about those particular guys, but it's
Yeah.
probably a little of both.
Yeah, perhaps not a universal experience, but
Yeah.
a common experience. Now, during pre-production, several leads were discussed, including Jimmy Fallon,
Ugh.
Huh.
Ah.
Sorry.
Bradley
girl
Cooper,
Interesting.
who's in a very different place at the time.
He was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He could have put on a big synthetic chin; it would have been looked great. Adam Sandler, the Sandman,
Oh,
with
boy.
Jennifer Aniston, maybe make it 20 years instead of 10. But once Cumble was on board, he was like, no, we got to do this. We got to make this a Ryan Reynolds joint. I like that Ryan Reynolds. So at this point in his career, Ryan Reynolds was mostly known for Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place. Any of you guys ever watched that one?
Yeah.
Bits.
That's
Okay.
maybe the reason I like this movie, because I was a freshman in college when that show was on. So I'm aging myself here, but I don't care. But I would watch it sometimes with James, with my now husband. And I was like, I think that guy's funny. And he's like, I guess. And so, but it's like, there's a connection. There's a connection there where like,
And it turns out you were both right.
yeah, sure. No, it's Ryan Reynolds kind of like reminded me of that time, like when I first met him. And so I was like, oh, that guy is in this movie. I'll watch it.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Let's see. And also we had done Van Wilder, which established him as sort of a smarmy but likable cad type, like a Chevy Chase that didn't alienate everyone that he ever worked with. Still, he struggled to find success and define his star persona after that. You know, it wasn't clear how smarmy he was supposed to be. He was a little too specific to just like slot into any romantic comedy.
Right.
Know? People didn't know if he had a range. So this was his first attempt at sort of playing a romantic leading man. This was his first major romantic lead role. The set was apparently very collaborative. Cumble was very open to improvisation and rewrites, going with may the best idea win approach.
Nice.
With comedy ringers like Reynolds and Aaron Farris and, Julie Hagerty and Chris Klein, even surprisingly, was a bit of a ringer. Why not take these people's ideas? Everybody was doing a pretty good job in terms of performances. The film was shot not in New Jersey, as it claims, but in Regina and Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Hey.
Very loose tie to the Apple.
The Apple.
Where, of course, Alfie and BB were from Moose Jaw.
Yeah.
Temperatures would often reach negative 40 degrees at night.
Oh, wow.
This didn't bother native Canuck Ryan Reynolds nearly as much as it did everyone else, or so they say. But he did have his fair share of problems. Producers assumed that he would know how to play hockey, being Canadian, but it turns out that he did not even know how to ice skate.
Whoa.
That's fantastic.
The first day they got him out there to try and train and learn how to skate, he fell and dislocated his shoulder.
Oh, shit. Oh, I'm
Wow.
sorry. I'm allowed to cuss.
Yeah, no, that's fine. It was not a box office smash upon release, pulling in a humble $32.6 million at the domestic box office. But I think that's probably enough to turn a profit on this. I couldn't find what its budget was, but
Neither could I.
Like Amy Smart, Anna Faris, and at this point Ryan Reynolds probably weren't pulling down more than $2-3 million a pop. I would say tops. So I can't see this costing more than $20 million to make. at this time. Best guess audience. Now, critics were mixed. Nathan Robin of the AV Club said it had some good ideas but never gelled. Whereas Richard Roper of Ebert and Roper said, Just Friends is just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Get their asses, Richard Roper. Now, just to put a thing in its place, other romantic comedies of the year 2005. You've got The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh,
Okay.
Era defining.
yes, definitely.
I've seen part of it.
It's funny. It's funny.
It was funny. The part that
Steve
I saw.
Carell really got his chest waxed. He's a real one for that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That I've never had my
That's
chest waxed,
incredible.
but waxing hurts. So you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
He put it on the line.
He did.
You've also got Hitch. I know there are people who like Hitch. I don't think I've seen Hitch.
It's okay.
I
The
vaguely
Wedding
recall
Date.
it.
Okay.
The Wedding Date. That's such a 30 Rock name.
I think that's the one with like
The
Dermot Mulrooney or Dylan McDermott.
I
Mhm.
confuse those two all the time.
They've never been in the same place at the same time.
There we go.
Elizabethtown. The Cameron Crowe
brother.
movie.
That was the Manic Pixie Dream Girl.
Yeah, the defining.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and you've got Little Manhattan. Anybody see Little Manhattan?
No.
No.
I've never even heard of that.
I had a sort of a soft spot for it in that it was like a very traditional down the line romantic comedy, but it was about two 12-year-olds living in Manhattan.
Oh.
And like there was at one point where the guy was like really nervous about holding the girl's hand. And I was like, that's really cool because like me as an adult with anxiety trying to hold the girl's hand, if I like her, that's going to make me really nervous. But you couldn't put that in a normal romantic comedy because
No.
you would make your main character look like a dweeb like me.
Yeah.
So I can relate to someone who's very emotionally immature and enjoy this romantic comedy. You've also got Bewitched,
Okay.
Okay.
the very convoluted where they were rebooting Bewitched in Bewitched, and they cast a witch as the witch in Bewitched. Also, you got The Family Stone,
Oh,
which I've heard also has its defenders.
I
Okay.
love that one. I almost picked that one for this, but I think it's actually a good movie. So I couldn't
That's
really
fair.
pick one. Yeah.
But also very like this was also very family oriented. Like obviously the tones of them were very different.
Yeah.
But I think that sort of return to family and coming home was in the zeitgeist at the time, you know, in a post 9/11 America.
yeah.
Now that I've evoked the specter of 9/11, do you guys want to move on to the plot?
Yeah.
Sure. Plot bumper, listen to me. I'm gonna give you the plot summary. Come on, baby, here's the synopsis. Plot bumper, plot bumper.
So we open in New Jersey. It's 1995 over here. Chris Brander, played by Ryan Reynolds in a fat suit, unfortunately, signs a confession of love in his dream girl's yearbook before lip syncing to I Swear by All for One in front of a wall of photos of her. He looks absolutely insane.
He does, and it's a fairly creepy moment, I feel like.
Not great.
It definitely starts the film off that you know it's going to be making you uncomfortable at times.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's going to have, it's just like, I always think of the movie Carrie and how in the opening, you know, they show a bunch of full frontal nudity and a girl menstruating and it's to like put you back on your heels so that you know the rest of the movie it's going to be crazy. You don't know what this guy's going to show you, and this has a very similar effect of being like, oh man, what kind of questionable calls is Roger Cumble going to be making for the rest of this film?
If we're starting here, where are we going?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just a glass of ice water right in the face. He then rides his bike over to Jamie's impromptu graduation party. Jamie being the girl that he's in love with, played by Amy Smart. After saying hi to a couple people at the party, most of whom don't like him, except for good friends Clark and Darla, he gets her alone in her bedroom, and he keeps trying to get her to read his heartfelt inscription. First, he gets interrupted by captain of the football team, Tim, who obviously is very cruel to him. And then by zit-faced troubadour, Dusty Dinkelman, played by Chris Klein.
Zit-faced troubadour, great online handle, by the way.
Yeah, that's my new Twitch name, in the commotion, Tim steals Jamie's yearbook and reads his confession of love to the entire house party. Before Chris can flee in shame, Jamie stops him to make it explicitly clear that she loves him, but not like that. Chris rides off crying and saying that he's going to get out of this town, and boy, everybody's going to feel bad about how great he is.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't talk to any of them for 10 years. Sorry.
Yeah, it's really hard to rub it in their faces when you never come home.
He completely cuts himself off from everybody.
But they say the best revenge is living well, right?
True
and
that.
indeed, it seems like he's living well. 10 years later, he's on the West Coast. He's at some sort of sexy Hollywood party where a sexy babe is like, Chris, the sex with you is so good, but I wish we had a deeper emotional connection. He's like, bye. I guess then bye.
2005 truth bomb.
He's no longer wearing a fat suit. He is in fact now traditionally handsome Ryan Reynolds. And the next day, he's at hockey practice with his buddy Ray, who is never in the movie ever again.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, I haven't thought about that.
Ray had to go back to his home planet.
Yeah. Ray never gets out of the hockey rink, unfortunately.
He's so stupid. He can't figure out how to leave. So.
Yeah. Like, not only can he not get out of the friend zone, he can't even get out of the ice skating rink, this guy. Ray is, in fact, struggling with being friend zoned. And Chris gives him some pointers. First of all, he points out that, yes, you are, in fact, in the friend zone, a concept that I, Chris Brander, have conceived of, even though it was conceived in an episode. You said it was from an episode of Friends?
It was popularized by the 7th episode of Friends.
Yes,
I remember that episode very specifically.
I didn't remember that, but I was like, I know this has been discussed before this movie, like at length somewhere. So thank you, because I totally could not think of it.
Yeah, it's weird that they both came from Friends, that he's got that, connection to Ross. So, small world, eh? Because he wasn't involved with the writing. It's just kismet. Everything comes back to the friend zone. But one thing that I think is weird, right? Like the writer and the producer, they talked about how like, we have to capitalize on this concept that is this common occurrence that we all know about. And I feel like it's come up actually quite a lot in movies. This is a fairly common concept of unrequited love. It's specifically this type of friend-zoned unrequited love. But you never once have I seen it from the girl's point of view. Not in a single movie.
Yeah. That's kind of like a good way to flip the script, I think. I do appreciate that a little bit.
They don't take too much from Amy Smart's point of view in this. I think there's only like one scene that is specifically from Amy Smart's point of view that happens like 2/3 through the film. I would really love to see a film that was strictly from Amy Smart's point of view. I think that would be definitely a much fresher take. And obviously I think a great source of comedy if you have this lovable loser type. I don't know
Yeah.
how you would describe. I guess you would have to be a lovable loser for this film to work. I don't know.
Yeah.
But to me, I don't think this was as fresh as they were assuming. Now, he then heads over to his fancy A&R job at Red Bulb Records. His scene-stealing boss, Stephen Root.
Love Stephen Root.
Yeah, Stephen Root coming in and crushing it. Just one day's worth of work, easily improving a solid 5-10 minutes of the movie. Man, earned his paycheck on this one. Stephen Root tells Chris that he needs him to drop whatever his Christmas plans are and fly pop superstar Samantha James, played by Anna Farris, to Paris. Anna Farris, the 500-pound gorilla in the room. Let's talk about Anna Farris.
Yeah.
Who
she's incredible.
Crushes every scene.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's doing like a really aggressive Ashley Simpson. And I feel like at the end of the day, when I watched this movie yesterday, I was like, the only person I'm rooting for, everybody in this movie is kind of terrible except for her because she like is who she is and she's very unapologetic about it. Like she sucks, but she's like, I know. And she doesn't care.
Yeah.
I don't know. She's so good.
And like Ryan Reynolds keeps on saying he doesn't like her music, but obviously millions of people do. You can't take away that she's creating something and she writes her own stuff. Like, let's cut her some slack. She's actually, and what, because she's young and she wants to have sex and she communicates effectively, she's the hero of this picture.
Yes.
I would like to point out that during this scene, Stephen Root says that her poster is their fastest selling poster. And I thought that was such a weird little detail. Also, I was like, were posters still really that big in 2005? Like, was it such like, this is our best selling poster? This is a weird concept to me.
The number one indicator. Yeah. Now, so he heads over to Samantha's recording studio. We quickly learn that she's super horny, completely deranged, and wants to get back together with Chris. They used to have a thing. And he does a terrible job masking how much he loathes her.
A really terrible job.
Yeah. That's one thing that keeps you, I think, from rooting too much for Ryan Reynolds in this movie, and why I think he's ultimately wrong for it, is he does come off as a little bit mean and like very hard to like for a large. I mean, he's supposed to have like a redemptive arc. You're not supposed to like him too much, but he's like actively unpleasant sometimes.
Yeah.
I think they were trying for a very difficult tone, and I don't think they stuck the landing.
No, they did not.
They take off for Paris, but en route, Samantha puts some tinfoil in the microwave, forcing them to make an emergency landing in Trenton, New Jersey. Instead of finding a luxury hotel, as you might imagine, they head over to Chris's mom's house. The good news is Chris's mom is Julie Hagerty.
Yay.
Thank God.
Yeah, you love to see these three together. And Julie Hagerty, you love to see her anywhere. Listeners probably know her best from Airplane and maybe something else at some other point. But to me, Airplane.
Bob?
Yeah, what about
Bob? Oh, okay. What about Bob? Another classic. Yeah, you love Julie Hagerty. And she does a great job playing a mom in this.
She really does.
And both she and Anna Faris have a sort of distinct but related spacey energy. So it's interesting to see those two energies overlap in a scene. Like it's like having two Mr. Magoos, And then Chris's horny little brother shows up, Mike, and he's just adding to Chris's woes. And he also is pretty overtly sexually harassing Samantha.
Oh, yeah.
What did you guys think of Chris Marquette as Mike? He plays a surprisingly large role in this film.
So I didn't like the Mike character. His portrayal may have been good, but like every time he's on screen, it's like, oh, brother, here we go. I mean, I'll get into a little bit of some things that I did like about where his character fit in as a whole later, but as a character, just like anytime it's like, oh God, it's the brother again.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate that he used a gay slur. I totally forgot that that happened in this movie.
That happens a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like, what the hell? Whatever. I blocked that out, I guess. I don't know, but
It might have even been censored if you're watching it on TV.
good point. But I do think that the physical comedy in this movie is actually really great. That might be like its biggest redeeming quality for me. You don't get a lot of good physical comedy, I feel like, in a rom-com. It's usually like a woman that's like, I dropped my papers, and then she, trips and falls into a vat of coffee. I don't know, but like,
more papers.
Yeah.
More papers. But the brother fights are like, oh man, that shit is funny to me. Like when they're just like beating the crap out of each other and they call truce, like that made me laugh. But when he is really, I gotta agree with Greg, like not the best, but the fighting I liked.
Yeah, there's something that I almost like the actor more than the character. I feel like the character was really annoyingly written.
Yeah.
And I did like the brotherly vibe that the two of them had, and the slap fights that they would have. And there's one point where Ryan Reynolds shoves him into the couch and then stomps on his butt, and it just like they had some good
fighting.
Yes.
Like in almost like a Three Stooges sort of fighting comedy way, where it's like, oh damn, but it's still funny. Now Chris needs to get out of there. There's a lot going on. He doesn't want to be in this town. He doesn't want to be with this woman. He definitely doesn't want these things interacting. He's going to head down to the local bar, The Maple. That's where he runs into his old high school friends, Clark and Darla, who are all amazed how skinny he is. Everyone's amazed that he's not fat anymore. Every single character needs to say, you used to be fat. Now you're better. That happens a lot in this movie.
That's the worst.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yep.
Like every
or
character.
Not like it's not crazy because apparently that's extremely true to life. But it's crazy that that is true to life.
Extremely true to 2005 as well. I feel like in 2025, if they made this movie, it would be less. They would be less gross about it.
Honestly, if they made it now, they shouldn't have made him fat in high school.
Exactly.
Or they should have had him stay fat, but like dress better and be better styled. Now, he also runs into former football captain Tim, who has now just got a horseshoe of hair, but still wearing his Letterman jacket and begging for money in a bar. So just what you want to see happen to an evil jock. That hits. They just don't even make that a storyline. That happens right away. And then, of course, behind the bar is former Flame Jamie. He talks to Jamie, and they plan to meet up, unfortunately for lunch, even though he said lunch dates are a friend zone thing. He was like, yeah, lunch sounds good, because he doesn't want to push it. It was her idea. And he's already choking. He's already in his own head. And also Samantha's in the bar, and that's making everything worse. And she starts making a scene, and he's like, well, let's just get the fuck out of here. I'll see you tomorrow. The next day, Chris puts Mike on Samantha duty and sends him off to the mall to connect with her fan base. Chris picks up Jamie at her parents' house in his rental Porsche, which is not meant for the snowy roads of New Jersey in December. It's sort of a sight gag. I think it would have been funnier if he had snow chains on a Porsche. I would have liked to have seen that.
He didn't have snow chains on the Porsche?
Did he?
I couldn't tell. Whatever
I'm
it was,
sure he did.
Whatever gag they were trying to sell, I don't think they sold it clearly enough.
Yeah.
Make it a Cybertruck if they reboot it.
They should have, They should have had it like skidding on ice more often, and being like, him trying to put it in 4-wheel drive. I don't know, something. So they head out to their old diner, which they went to in high school, which obviously rings true. Everybody went to high school, or everybody who went to a diner with the girl they had a crush on and couldn't ask out. I mean, obviously, that was your typical Saturday night. And that's where they get the same waitress who also treats him like a fat kid, and he acts kind of like an asshole to her.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, at the mall, Mike accidentally tases Samantha, making her fall over a railing and giving her a concussion.
Good shit.
Yeah.
One of the best parts of the movie, frankly. In front of the Hallmark store.
Yeah, great stuff. Chris brings Jamie home and he sort of blows the drop off. He tries to go in for a kiss. They don't do it. He doesn't get that working out. Then he goes back in his car and he starts freaking out in his car, which she sees when she goes back to retrieve her gloves. The whole thing is very embarrassing.
Yeah.
He checks in with Clark and Darla at Clark's dentist office. And Clark confirms that Chris is on an express train back to the friend zone.
And I want to point out that when he does that, the dentist is with a patient and they're just talking to him. And it's never addressed that he just shouldn't be allowed in that room. Like, they never talk about that. And then they just move on.
Yeah. Like,
it's a really weird moment for me. It'd be pretty weird. I'd be like, can we get this guy out of here? Like, why is he in the room? My mouth is open.
I'd be like, tell me more. Go on.
That's fair.
It's true. It could be distracting. Well, Greg and I both have dentist appointments tomorrow, so if that happens to either of us, we will catch you up.
Tell me.
Tune in next week.
That's
Some
right.
friend zone sad guy is like, I'm in the friend zone. I need to know.
You
just move on. They then head home and find out that Samantha is zonked out on Vicodin and eating toothpaste. This, to me, I think was Farris's best scene.
Yeah.
There's some great work in here.
Yeah.
At one point, she has a mouthful of toothpaste, and then she goes to kiss Reynolds on the cheek, and she squeezes out all the toothpaste from her mouth onto his face.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Graphic.
Yeah. And she's got like a big comedy ice pack bandaged to the top of her head, like she's in a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
God bless this woman. Just 100%.
Yeah, just sitting there in a black bra and tights. Now, Chris then meets up with Jamie for some ice skating the next day. Let's do some ice skating scene. Unfortunately, he has to use rental skates, so he's not at his best. And I don't know why he's this big rich muckety muck. He couldn't go down to the skate shop and just buy some new skates.
Yeah, I was really confused on that point. It's like, you did rent a Porsche, so why don't you just buy some ice skates?
I think everyone in this movie has an IQ of like, I don't know.
That's fair.
Like,
that's fair.
Their friend's stuck in the ice rink. Ryan Reynolds forgets he has money. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand.
Yeah, this is one that you don't want to look at too close. This is one that you want on TV while you're doing something else.
Movie of convenience.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, rental skates. It's not at his best. He also tries to prove himself with a child's pickup game of hockey. Mm-hmm. This kid's game is like, hey, you adult man, we need one more guy. Do you want to play with us? And he's like, yes.
It's weird to me that they get an adult to play a child's game and don't just have the adult like be goalie or something, or like be something very minimal so that the kids can largely play.
Yeah, it's an odd choice to have him play. I think he plays like left wing or something.
And they're just like, you're sucking out there. It's just like, why is he an integral part of the team at this point? Like, you shouldn't let an adult be an important part of a child's pickup game of hockey. But that's, again, you look at it too closely, you'll find a problem.
There's nothing funny about it to me, though. That's what really annoys me. Like, I'm like, I guess if you're doing this to be funny, but a man like getting angry at a bunch of children for like thinking that he sucks at hockey, and then he's really mean to them back. Like,
this definitely.
I thought it was kind of funny when he was punching a kid in the face. That made me laugh.
I genuinely had the hardest time with this scene. This whole thing, fair. I was like, don't do this. Why are we doing this now? Don't do that. Don't do that there.
Yeah, it makes it harder to care about Reynolds' character that he can't see what he is doing and that it's so clearly a bad idea. Mm. And then he does get hit in the mouth when he ricochets a slap shot off the top bar of the goal, and it knocks out several of his teeth, it may appears, or he does some sort of severe damage to his mouth. He's still got the teeth in there, but he needs some stitches. So the EMS rush to the rescue. And look who one of the EMS is. It's Dusty Dinkelman.
That's right.
Now he's going by Dusty Lee, and he's played by handsome Chris Klein, who has a lot of real good boy charm, like your classic Chris Klein type. What are your thoughts on Chris Klein in this?
Loved him until I
Ace is
hated
just
him.
amazing, so good. And like was always kind of like the cornball guy in other stuff, like Election and American Pie, and then he shows up and he just freaking knocks it out of the park with this role. And he's only in the movie for maybe like 15 minutes tops.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really steals a lot of scenes, and his heel turn is really good.
Yeah. He's the first thing I remembered about this movie. I was like, he's in this movie and he has the scene. This is an audio medium, but he's doing like the devil horns and like flapping his tongue, like la, 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 la. Like, and that is the first thing I remembered, because my sister and I would always just go Dusty Dinkelman to each other. Like if somebody was a piece of shit, like that was kind of our code, like Dinkelman. So
yeah, no, Dinkelman is a great villain's name. It's great every time someone says contemptuously Dinkelman. It's fun. It rolls off the tongue. So they ride to the medical center in Dusty's ambulance, which gives Dusty the opportunity to get Jamie's digits across Chris's prone and broken body.
Almost literally.
Yeah. They pass a clipboard over him.
It's pretty sad.
Yeah, and then I believe an oxygen tank falls on his dick.
Yeah.
Yes.
The nut shot. Oblig for a movie like this.
Yeah. Now, Clark gives Chris some stitches in his mouth and also fits him up with a retainer, which once again makes him feel like his high school self. But then he realizes that maybe Dusty's working this nice guy angle, and that angle is working. Maybe I need to go back to being sensitive Chris from high school. That's the plan. Back at the house, Samantha is feeling much less brain damaged, but also very bored and horny. She almost sleeps with Mike after clarifying that he is in fact 18. But then Chris pops in and ruins it. But this is another great scene. Any scene with Samantha and Mike, I think, is a really fun scene. I think those two have great chemistry together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Chris pops in before they can sleep together and then starts slapping Mike around and like pinning him to the bed and spitting in his face. Older brother stuff. Not my older brother. He didn't do too much of that. But in general.
Didn't he close you into a hide-a-bed?
Oh,
yes.
Bed?
Yes, but only for an hour.
Okay.
Now,
that seems like a long time to me.
That's a pretty long time.
Amontillado level.
You know. I might be misremembering the story. But you know me, I'm also a very passive person. I probably would have been in there like, well, they have to let me out sooner or later. There's nothing I can really do, so.
Worst places to be trapped.
Just waited it out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to die here. Now, Chris tries to switch over to sensitive mode. He puts on some like chinos and a Cosby sweater, and he invites Jamie to go see the movie The Notebook that night. Classic Nicholas Sparks, The Notebook, directed by Nick Cassavetes. Starring Ryan Reynolds, Gina Rowlands.
Ryan Gosling.
I was going to say, wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Yeah. They should have gone to a Ryan Reynolds
though.
movie.
Yeah.
Let's go see
they're
Waiting.
Both from Vancouver.
It's true.
They are? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. New info on Gosling for me. I knew Reynolds was Canadian though.
Now, unfortunately, Dusty invites himself over that night. He's coming along to see The Notebook too.
Dinkelman.
And to add insult to injury, Dusty invites Chris's mom, Julie Hagerty. This is the worst double date you could imagine.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Now, the good news is he can't come over for Coco after the movie because he has to go work the night shift at the hospital at Christmas so his coworker can spend the night with his family. Such a good guy.
Yeah.
This Dusty. Now, Chris, Jamie, and Mom, they all go into Chris's house. They drink cocoa and they watch some old home movies. And they laugh and they remember how they used to be before Chris got all weird and lost all that weight. Now, the next day, which is Christmas, Chris puts an old list of things I love about Jamie that he found in a memory box. He puts that in a Christmas card.
And
He
one of
brings it
those
over-
things was She's a great dresser, especially when she has that pink low-cut top, which was really gross.
That's wow.
Maybe that was an in-joke they had.
Maybe, but it was just
I'm gonna hope.
It went along with that whole like I have a corner of her pictures and think about her constantly kind of a vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why she didn't want to go out with him in high school. And I think that's what the film really needs to address. And it's more than him just being fat.
Yes.
Where was I? Home movies. The next day, which is Christmas, Chris puts an old list of things I love about Jamie in a Christmas card. And he brings that Christmas card over to Jamie's family. And they're having a Christmas party. Unfortunately, Dinkelman is already there. And he's wowing everyone with his accomplished acoustic guitar playing. And this includes, he plays his original song that he wrote for Jamie when he was a boy, When Jamie Smiles. This obviously freaks Chris out.
On a double-necked guitar.
That was really nice to see. That was nice to see.
Yeah.
Good sight gag.
Yeah, there's a good sight gag and little things that like show the cracks in the Dusty persona. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, there's just to be like, there's something weird about this guy. He's not completely charming and cool. Now, Clark is also at the Christmas party, and he tells Chris not to let this break his stride. This is just Dinkelman. You can't get intimidated by zit-faced troubadour Dusty Dinkelman. And so Chris walks outside where everybody's caroling on their own front porch for some reason.
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to start with singing to our own house, and then maybe we'll go to the neighbors later if we feel like it. But then goes outside to talk to her out there. That's what he does. But just then, Samantha drives a car right through Jamie's dad's huge Christmas display. The Christmas display that Anna called out, as that will definitely be destroyed at some point in this movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, well, yeah. It's
Chekhov's
a
Christmas display.
Yeah. They never make it.
Exactly. And indeed, she does end up wrecking this thing, but not before she accuses Chris of having sex with Jamie, punching him in the throat. And she drives off, setting the entire Christmas display on fire.
It's great.
Yeah, fortunately, the interior of the house is completely fine.
God bless.
No problem. Yeah,
Samantha
little miracles.
also yells, "Get off me, God boy," to a minister who's attending the gathering.
That's pretty good.
Her best line in many good lines.
So it's looking bleak for old Chris that night. But Jamie comes by his house. She found his list, and it really touched her. They spent some time going down memory lane, flipping through a yearbook, and then she invites herself to sleep over. She pulls the classic, I'm going to wear your shirt to bed as a nighty classic look. And it looks like they're going to work it out. It looks like, boy, everything's coming up for old Chris. Not me, that one. But then he chokes, which is actually very much like me. And then the next day, he's commiserating with Charles. And we get one scene from her point of view where she's commiserating with Darla, being like, I don't know. I really threw myself at him. Maybe he just doesn't like me.
And this is the classic like rom-com scene where they're both having an argument or giving a monologue, and it keeps cutting back and forth between the two of them, and you realize that they're both thinking the same thing and feeling the same thing.
But it's weird that it is literally the only scene that has Amy Smart and not Ryan Reynolds in it.
Yeah, it feels really out of place for that reason.
Yeah, it jumps out at you. Now, then after Chris is done commiserating with Clark, they're leaving the medical center, and he sees Dusty there, macking on a nurse who is wearing thigh highs at work. Very revealing nurse's uniform. Not that I'm complaining.
At this part, I said to James, that can't actually be a nurse. Like that's a hooker that went to the ER. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fine, good for her, but like
Yeah.
I don't think that's appropriate uniform for an actual nurse.
No, she was ripped right off the
Like in a
cover of that
clinical
Blink
setting.
182 album.
Totally.
And he's singing to her when Jamie smiles, but this time it's when Janice smiles. What a twist!
Yes.
Yeah.
Move over, M. Night. And that's Chris confronts him on it. Says, "Hey, Dusty Dinkelman, I'm onto your game. That dog won't hunt, Monsignor." And then Dusty hits him up with the old, "We're not so different, you and I."
Mm-hmm.
All my life, I searched for a worthy adversary.
Yeah.
And so we got a worthy adversary heads. Keep an eye out for just friends. But Chris is like, "We're very different in that I'm going to leave town. Fuck this." But then while Clark is driving out to the airport, he changes his mind. And he says, "You know what? I can't let Jamie fall into Dusty's hands." So they head over to the church where Dusty is going to be performing an impromptu sing-along for local children. And Jamie is going to be there because she's a substitute teacher and all the local kids love her.
Mm-hmm.
There's no impromptu anything on Christmas in a church.
No, well, this is Boxing Day. This is definitely
okay, fine.
Yeah, they didn't have anything planned for Boxing Day.
Thank God Dinkelman was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, to really keep those
Dinkelman.
kids, we
Children.
got to extend it.
Let's go sing at church.
Now, yeah, and they're not even doing Christian song. He's doing like "Coming Round the Mountain."
Yeah, that was super weird. Like when they walk into a church and it's coming around the mountains, like, what is actually happening in this church?
Again, I must reiterate, I think everyone in this movie is extra stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's some real Protestant stuff, I gotta say. So Chris pulls Jamie aside and is like, "Listen, Dusty's evil." And she's like, "Really? Because Dusty just said that you're evil." And he's like, no, he's the one that's evil. And then he and Dusty get in a fist fight, and everybody blames Chris. And he's like, "I'm getting out of this stink town. I'm sick of stink town."
Mm-hmm.
Understandable.
The kids are all on Dusty's side, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're all chanting, "Dusty, Dusty."
and Dusty does the classic, which you can't
Yeah.
see, but
The
devil
devil
does the
horns. Yeah.
tongue flapping, rude gesture on the pulpit in church. By the way,
Yeah.
that's
Oh
how
yeah.
you know.
So Chris tries to flee town, but he's too drunk, and he gets kicked off of the bus. And he gets kicked off the bus right in front of the Maple. It's time for our big final confrontation. He goes in and he confronts both Dusty and Jamie. And he apologizes to Jamie, being like, "Listen, I love you." And Dusty's like, "Listen, are we going to fuck or what?" And Jamie's like, "Listen,
Oh my God, I love
what are you
it.
talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
So obviously this freaks out Jamie. Dusty's like, fuck it. Plenty of fish in the sea. He's moving on. He's caused enough chaos. His arc wraps up kind of uninterestingly for such a fun character. It's a shame that he just sort of, they just drop him like that. And then he accuses her of being a tease. She cold cocks him and knocks him out. It's a very ugly fight between the two of them. Very vicious. So Chris, he flies back home. And when he gets back home, Samantha is there in his house. His ultra cool, ultra modern California house. Yeah, hooray for you and me. But Chris gives this one a big thumbs down. He instantly realizes he's made a mistake. This is what he is leaving his dream girl for. This is all that California has to offer him, is more and more Samanthas. And as Samantha comes on to him very aggressively, and he's telling her, you can't just make people like you, and he's sort of, they could have made it clear that this was a message that he needed to learn,
Right.
because he did need to learn it, but they didn't hit it home as well as they could have, I
Yeah.
think.
No, because he got tased in the nuts while it was happening.
Yeah, there was a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
going on.
Yeah.
The movie needed to slow down for 30 seconds and have to be like, guys in the friend zone, you're not the hero of a movie, you know?
No.
Right.
And he flies back to New Jersey, and where he apologizes one more time to Jamie on New Year's Eve, and this time she accepts it, and they kiss, and it's the end of the movie. Hooray, we made it.
We sure did.
We made it to the end, just friends. What did you guys think? Final thoughts, 5-star rating.
Well,
Who wants to start?
I'll start.
Aces.
What I like about this movie, besides Anna Farris, who is incredible, I loved every moment of her, is that it's structured basically like a Hallmark Christmas movie, and I
Yeah.
love those.
Yeah.
And those don't have to be good to me.
That's true.
Those are
Mhm.
just following a formula, and like, as much as the movie was that, I liked it. And I wish that it didn't have the horrible 2005 specific mean streak. It's just
Yeah.
Yeah.
the movie is often very mean, and it's a
Yeah.
real shame, because I don't think it has to be funny. Like, I laughed a lot actually, but I didn't laugh when the movie was being cruel.
Right.
With that said, I'm gonna put this at a 3 stars.
I think that's tough but fair.
Yeah.
How about you, Greg?
Well, so I did like the one thing that I liked, and I mentioned this earlier with like the brother. I liked how like him coming home sort of turned him back into his old self, partially because
Mhm.
that's what everyone was doing to him. That really, everyone's like, "Oh, you're who you've always been." It's like, but I'm not that anymore and haven't been for 10 years. I liked what they did there. I thought that was really interesting. And maybe it was my mood. It was an interesting weekend, but I really I did not like this movie a lot. Like, I was not into this movie. Some of the things that I wrote were, everyone is so loathsome. Everyone seems terrible
Everyone
in
sucks in
this.
this movie so
You know,
bad.
I don't know what this movie wants me to think or feel. What do I want to happen? This is so confused. Like, every
I have to get my
turn,
notes.
like,
Hold on.
like it was one of the things was like when they finally like kind of get back together, I'm like, okay, so this is going to be the moment, and then he blows it, and it's like, what am I supposed to be rooting for here? Do I want this terrible person to be with this other person who seems fine but also kind of terrible in a way? There wasn't really any like character I was rooting for except for Chris Klein until he was no longer the person you were rooting for. And I
Oh,
was
so you
like,
didn't see that twist coming?
no, I should have. I take these things maybe a little too literally in a way. Um,
Mhm.
and it had this same feeling. So I don't do this a lot in horror movies where you're like, don't open that door, don't open that door. But I do this in movies like this and Meet the Parents, where it's like, don't do that. No, don't do that. Don't punch that child. Don't punch that child. It's a good child.
Mhm.
Like, that's me during a movie like this, and I think it was probably my reaction to a lot of the movies at the time, because I feel like Meet the Parents was kind of around a similar time in a similar vein.
Mhm.
Because the honest truth is, I don't think I saw a lot of movies during this time, because you were listing all of those off at the beginning. It's like, I don't really recall any of these. So I'm going to give it a 2.
I think it too, based on your description of your experience, is generous. That's very kind of you.
Yeah, I was torn between 1.5 and a 2, but everyone kind of talking. I realized Anna Faris is pretty good in this, so it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'll go to a 2. Also, I want to have some room to be lower for the future, because it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just a lot of times where I'm just like, please don't do this now. We know this isn't going to go well, so don't do this. Just pull out of this spiral. Stop. But anyway.
Yeah. It was the comedy of discomfort, like the same way that I can't watch Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I
just
have trouble
the-
with Curb Your
Okay.
Enthusiasm as well.
I get that.
How about you, Courtney? Where did you wind up?
Okay. So I'm like totally on board with Greg. When I was watching this yesterday, I was like, everyone in this movie is a horrible person and I don't care about any of them. Like the scene where Amy Smart sees Ryan Reynolds again, Jamie sees Chris again at the bar, and she hugs him and she says, "I can fit my arms around you." And I was like,
Yeah,
F that.
that
Like
was rough.
Yep.
I would have been out. I would have been like, oh, I get it. I see how it is. So like, I was like, 10 years he didn't come back home. And that's the first thing she says after she hugs him. But anyway, I think as I mentioned before, there's really good physical comedy in this movie that I think is redeemable. Anna Faris is great. Chris Klein is great. Stephen Root crushing it in the one scene he's in. The brother fights made me laugh a lot. There is a tiny bit of acting, a couple of scenes where like Amy Smart and Ryan Reynolds are looking at each other with misty eyes. And I'm like, okay, so like they did a little something here. And the formulaic, if you just kind of let it be a romantic comedy and the formulaic stuff wash over you, then you just kind of get to enjoy like the Anna Faris scenes and the Chris Klein scenes as like a little bit of a bonus. I would say my rating is a 2.5. It's like straight down the middle. Like there's enough like bullshit in there that I'm like, ugh, brother, but there's enough funny stuff in there that I'm like, okay, it's worth watching. Which is kind of precisely why I chose it. So that's
fair
where I
enough.
land. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I might have wound up on the more generous side of the panel. I gave it a 3, mostly because I did really like Anna Faris. I did really like Stephen Root. I think this is a good comedy cast. I think the big problem with it is that it has no problem punching down with its jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, just something that doesn't fly for me as a member of today's audiences. It just aged poorly. And I think there's a lot of casual homophobia and a lot
definitely.
of structural fat phobia.
Yeah.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about that structural fat phobia when we go to our first segment, Trends in Film.
All right.
Trends in film, they do happen. Trends in film. Trends in film, that's a segment. Trends in film. So fat suits are bad. Period.
Yeah.
We're going to put a full stop on that one. In order to understand why, you need to understand that our society systematically oppresses, marginalizes, and dehumanizes fat people. I think that's fair to say. And if you're not on board with that concept, then understanding why fat suits are bad is going to be harder to pick up. But once you get that, it becomes pretty obvious. Fat suits take roles that could go to fat actors and gives them to straight-sized actors. There are no prosthetics that work the other way, and so fat people aren't able to steal roles from straight-sized people. And fat people are already underrepresented on screen. Straight-sized people using fat suits to portray fat people on screen consistently make the fat people look oafish, slovenly, and arguably inhuman. The way that their bodies move, their skin looks artificial. A very dehumanizing thing to do in a depiction of a person that you are not and is treated shittily by society already. The suits make you move unnaturally. The facial prosthetics limit emotional range. Let's consider some iconic uses of fat suits on screen. You've got Mike Myers as Fat Bastard in Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yep.
Not great. Eddie Murphy as the Clumps in Nutty Professor and Nutty Professor 2. And also in Norbit, also wearing a fat suit.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thumbs down to all those. John Travolta in Hairspray. Thumbs down. Ben Stiller in The End of Dodgeball. Another thumbs down.
No good.
Robert John Burke in Thinner. It would be very difficult to tell this story without the use of a fat suit. But obviously Stephen King has some very problematic history with fat people in his work.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give this one a thumbs down. Kenan Thompson in Fat Albert. Obviously, it's very hard to find an actor who is as fat as Fat Albert, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna give that one a thumbs down as well. Even the most recent notable use of a fat suit, Brendan Fraser in The Whale, was largely considered insensitive at best by most fat rights activists, I want to say. So, in conclusion, fat suits, not even once.
Cosine.
Yep.
All right. So, now that we have come out on the moral right side of fat suits, let's move on to something a little more pleasant.
And it's also, I think that while they're always, while they're inappropriate for various reasons, in this, there wasn't even any reason for this character to have to have been
Preach
fat.
the truth.
Yep.
Like, he did not.
Yeah.
He could have just they could have just cast a fat actor, and for whatever reason, my brain immediately went to that guy from. I never watched Modern Family. What's his name? Eric Stone Street.
I never watched it either.
Yeah.
Eric Stone Street, very handsome fat actor, could have been him, or you could have just not had him been fat in the freaking first place. It wasn't necessary. Like, it just the worst.
Yeah. They did not crush it in terms of this.
Get at me,
But
Hollywood. Eric Stone Street. Why isn't he in more stuff?
it's true. That's the solution to this problem, is we need more Stone Street.
I agree.
The other thing that we need is to transition to the next game, which is a when game. We're going to play a little When's Going On.
Okay.
And I say, hey, I said, hey, when's going on? And I said, I said, hey, when's going on?
All right, so we're going to do a little When's Going On with the career of Mr. Ryan Reynolds.
All right.
I'm going to give you the title of a film and a brief synopsis of the plot. And you will tell me if that movie came out before or after Just Friends, which came out in 2005, as a reminder.
Okay.
This was obviously in a transitional period of Reynolds' career, so I think it's a decent enough milestone. And this is a ring-in game. You will ring in by saying your own name. There's no opportunities to steal.
Okay.
Question number 1. Life. A team of scientists aboard the International Space Station discover
Courtney.
a rapidly evolving life form that caused extinction on Mars and now threatens all life on Earth.
Courtney. After.
Correct. Courtney's on the board. That came out in 2017.
Yeah, is
I watched
Oscar
it in
Isaac
a
in
bathtub. No, but
Maybe?
Gyllenhaal's in it.
that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I have a freak brain for movie trivia. I'm very sorry. I'm going to probably smoke you guys on this.
That's fine.
Oh, the gauntlet has been thrown, team. What do you mean that's fine, Greg?
I never intend to win a game. I just like to have fun.
You've had a perfect game, Greg. Doesn't that sound fun?
I'll tell you, didn't intend to have a perfect game. It just happened.
I guess that's the only way. Question number 2. Fireflies in the garden. The Taylor family is devastated by an accident that takes place on the day their matriarch is due to graduate from college, decades after leaving to raise her children.
Courtney.
Courtney?
Before.
I'm sorry, that one was after. That was
Oh, my
2008.
God.
Wow.
Okay. Okay.
Question number 3. A secret between friends.
Mm.
2 friends keep their vomiting a secret until one of them almost dies. A secret between friends.
I don't even know how to respond to this.
Anna.
Anna?
Before?
Correct. That was like a made-for-TV movie
Yeah.
about bulimia.
After school special.
Yeah, he was not one of the 2 friends.
Okay.
Question number 4. Mississippi Grind. A down-on-his-luck gambler named Jerry teams up with a younger poker player named Curtis for a gambling road trip across the South. Mississippi Grind.
Greg?
Greg.
After.
Correct. That is 2015. It is tied up at a point.
2015?
How about that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he
Wow.
played Curtis. Question number 5. Ordinary magic. A young boy is sent to live with his aunt in Canada, where he and his friends stage a hunger strike to save her house from being demolished to make room for a ski resort.
Courtney.
Ordinary magic. Courtney.
Before.
Correct. That was 1993. I believe his screen debut.
I was
Oh
going
my
to say, I
God.
bet he was a child in that.
Yeah, it sounds like
Yes,
it.
he was the young boy. Question number 6. Serving in silence. The Marguerite Kummermeyer story.
Jesus.
The true
Sorry.
story. Do I need to? I'm going to take that again from the top. Question number 6. Serving in silence. The Marguerite Kummermeyer story. The true story of a decorated officer's legal challenge to her involuntary discharge when she admitted she was a homosexual. Serving in silence. The Margarita Kummermeyer story.
Okay, I'm sorry I laughed at you, Margarita.
Greg?
We're laughing at your name.
Greg.
Before?
Correct. That was 1995. I believe Glenn Close played Margarita Kummermeyer.
Okay.
Margarita
Question
Kummermeyer.
number 7. It's fun to say. Try it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Question number 7. The Adam Project.
Oh, Courtney.
Please wait until I've read the entire question.
I'm sorry, I have a very good reason why I knew this one, but please go ahead.
Question number 7. The Adam Project. After accidentally crash landing in the present, time-traveling fighter pilot Adam Reed teams up with his 12-year-old self for a mission to save the future. Courtney?
After.
Correct.
I looked
How do you
it
know
up
that?
Because I did review his wiki, and I don't recall anything but that stupid fucking Adam Project movie. Because I said, what kind of a name is that? And I looked it up and I said, what? This is a recent film. And
I could see that being like a Last Starfighter. That could be fun. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know.
The Adam Project.
It's a weird name.
The Courtney Project.
Question number 8. Tourist trap. A middle-aged father sets out on an RV trip with his family based on an old Civil War diary to follow in the footsteps of his great-grandfather.
Okay.
Tourist trap.
Anna.
Anna?
Before? That sounds like a kid movie.
Correct. 1998. The middle-aged father was played by Daniel Stern.
How about
Does
that?
Ryan Reynolds sleep? He's in like 500 movies.
Yeah.
What's funny is he has like 112 credits on his IMDb, something like that,
Oh my
but
God.
at least 50 of them are Deadpool-related short films.
Oh my God.
Okay.
All right, last one. You can either tie it up with Courtney, or Courtney, you can close the book on your competitors.
Mhm.
Boltneck. A student receives a serial killer's brain and a transplant after being thrown into a pool with no water in it. Boltneck.
I'm gonna try for the win here.
Okay, Courtney.
It's got it before. Yay.
Correct. That was 2000.
2000. My God, he was
Wow.
already on that pizza place show at that point. He didn't need to be in Boltneck.
Well, I mean, when you get to work with Joey Lawrence's brother,
Matthew
Ooh.
Lawrence.
yes, as Boltneck.
My sister has a huge crush on him.
Well,
Not
Or she
Joey,
did
but
in the year
Matthew.
2000. Yeah, the other.
we
the
should
other one.
invite them on and we can talk about Boltneck. I would love to
Okay.
watch Boltneck and talk
Oh.
Boltneck.
My sister would love that.
All right. Listeners, keep an eye out. With that, are you guys ready to move on to our final segment, the Baddie Awards?
Yay.
I sure am.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're messing with
The Baddie Award.
Now you're messing with the Baddie Awards. Now you're messing with
The Baddie Award.
Now you're messing with the Baddie Awards.
Congratulations to all the nominees.
That's right. Congratulations to all our nominees. It's the Baddie Awards. Does anybody want to go first?
I'll go
I-
first.
Oh, okay, my love. What is your Baddie Award?
Well, it's another from my ongoing series. Hey, this guy was on Supernatural.
Carry on my wayward son.
And this time, shout out goes to Ty Olson as Tim. He, of course, played the vampire Benny Lafitte in Supernatural.
Okay.
And is currently engaged to DJ Qualls. They met and fell in love
Really?
doing Supernatural conventions. Yeah,
How about
Yeah.
that?
God.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
Good
it
for
is
those
very
two.
sweet.
Yeah, Mazel Tov, you two. Well, I will give my Baddie Award. My Baddie Award is going out to, this is the Jersey Tomato Award for the most New Jersey scene I'd seen in a while, where Chris was in New Jersey and the soundtrack was playing the song Hackensack
Aw.
by the band
Yeah.
Fountains of
Fountains
Wayne,
Yeah.
named after a fountain store in Wayne, New Jersey.
Yay.
The original name of Fountains of Wayne was the Wallflowers. And
Oh, I
Dick
could see why they
Dylan
might have had to.
just bought it from him.
Smart.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Get that Dylan money. Hell yeah. Way to
That's
go,
right.
brothers.
Fountains of Wayne is a way better name anyway.
It's true.
It's true. Well, Greg, do you have a Baddie Award?
Yeah, so I struggle a little with this one due to my distaste for the film, but I will say this. I'd like to give my Tip of the Cap award to Julie Hagerty, just because
Okay.
I'm always excited to see her, and as soon as that door popped open and it was her, I was like, hey,
Yay.
I like you. So Julie Hagerty, I tip my cap to you.
All right. Chris kind of stole my thunder because I was going to do it. I really got into Fountains of Wayne over the summer, and Hackensack is like an on repeat song for me.
Nice.
Yeah. So another big part of the reason I was like, wow, this movie has some stuff going on. So off the top of my head, here's my award. My baddie is the 30% More award. Courtney's 30% More. This movie needed 30% more Anna Farris.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably could have bumped it to almost a 4-star rating for me. Everything should have 30% more Anna Farris. She's fantastic.
She
So,
is.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's so strange that she never really had like a vehicle that I feel was worthy of her.
Never.
You know what I mean?
What the hell? Anna, get at me. I will figure it out for you.
Yes, you need to stop being a position player and get in the spotlight, girl.
Yeah.
The
She deserves
30%
it.
more award.
I bet she rejected a producer.
Probably.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, not to be a bummer, but like,
That sounds right. She seems to have principles, and she's also very, very funny, which means she's
Yeah.
smart enough to not go for that kind of crap.
Yeah.
Well, we still salute you, Anna Farris. And we salute you, listeners. You've made it to the end of the show. Congratulations. Courtney, thank you so much for coming this week. It was great to see you, and it's great to talk about this movie for our holiday special.
yeah.
Thank you. I had a fabulous, fabulous time.
Do you have anything that you want to plug?
I am trying to do a Substack, and I'm not doing a very good job at it, so I can't really plug that.
We'll still put it in the show notes.
Okay, thank you. Plug my Substack. You have the link. The other thing I wanted to say was, like, this week has been not good for obvious reasons. So Chris mentioned earlier in the show, I'm an HR specialist. I work at a very cool, very forward-thinking place. It's a nature conservancy. It's a local nature conservancy in Delaware, not to dox myself, but I do want to say, if you are feeling really like, what do I do? Where do I start? Check out, Google like local nature conservancies or gardens or somewhere like that is in your community. If you're an introvert like me and you don't really want to maybe feel a little shy or whatever, you can go to a garden and plant some seeds or take a class. The place where I work, their mission is all about preserving native habitats and wildlife and plants, and they teach a lot of classes, and the future generations are very top of mind for them. So I am lucky enough to work somewhere like that, but places like that do need a lot of help. If you want to help, conserve your local wildlife and habitat, do a little Googling and check that out, and take a look around and see what you think and see if you want to help them.
I believe in Wichita that would be the Great Plains Nature Center.
Oh, see?
Nice.
It
Right
sounds
on top
like a
of
very
it.
similar place.
Yeah.
Wichitans, you've got your marching orders. Other listeners, go and investigate your local nature conservancy. Now is a time more than ever to think global and act local.
That's right.
Thank you.
I am going to shout out something much more selfish. Us.
Hey.
Yay!
If you're still listening, that means you listened to an entire episode of this show. I bet you know it was pretty good. And I bet you'll want to come back next week when we'll be talking to Mallory Ryan about The Balcony, movie I have not seen, and nor am I familiar with.
Yeah, me either.
But other things that you can do, obviously, you can give us that 5 stars. If not you, then who? That's the real question. You can follow, you can subscribe, you can leave a comment. Any of those things that help us beat that algorithm, help us beat that AI that says we're better than any computer. That really helps. And obviously telling a friend is really great. All the time when I show up at work and someone says, hey, what did you do this weekend? I can't think of a dang thing I did all weekend. What am I going to say? I sat on the couch for 9 hours. But hey, you could say, I listened to this podcast. You could tell your coworker about the podcast. You could tell your friend that you're catching up with for drinks about the podcast. It would mean the world to us. And if you want to keep abreast with what we've going on, you can email us at favoritebadmoviepod@gmail.com. And if you do that, I can send you a link to our Discord where you get lots of early announcements about shows. You can talk with other people who listen to the show. It's a fun little place to hang out. You can also find us on Instagram at Your Favorite Bad Movie Pod. You can find us on Blue Sky at favoritebadmovie.bsky.social. And you can find us at Your Favorite Bad Movie Podcast on YouTube, where I've been uploading little trailers I've been making for the show. You got to check them out. They're tons of fun. And I think I've plugged everything. So till next time, happy holidays. And be good.
Holidays, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Forgiveness is more than saying sorry. Forgiveness means accepting people's flaws.